There we are. Thank you. Okay, so to move on, we are designing this assistive chatbot tool for benefit navigators, and some people have mentioned that term already, but for our project, this person could take on a number of different roles. They might be called a contact center agent, a caseworker, outreach staff. They might work on a single program like Snap Outreach over the phone, or they might work in, say, Los Angeles County and help clients navigate all of the programs in that geographic area. And so they work with families to screen, apply, use, and keep benefits. So a very wide range of tasks, even if they're only working on one program. And even if you're only working on one program, questions about others might come up while you're talking to a family. So like I said, our tool is a RAG, retrieval augmented generation assistive chatbot. And the opportunity here is really about lowering the cognitive burden that you need in order to navigate all those programs, especially when you're in the moment, either on the phone or speaking to someone across the table. So the AI solution there is, again, the chatbot to go through those rules, provide plain language responses, and our kind of flavor is really exploring the idea of citations. So if you want to look up more, how do you give people the ability to verify the response? Quick overview, it looks similar to a lot of different chatbots. You have a prompt, you have a response. I'll just point out that we are shaping this with benefit navigators. So what is the format? How is it responding? What terminology to use, not use? And then the citation below here, which could come from a number of different knowledge sources. A quick quote here to kind of put it in context again, and this is from a contact center-based navigator, all about the need for in-the-moment information. If you don't provide that, people are just going to walk away and they have to deal with the rest of their life. So I'm going to pass it to Kevin to go through the tool and how it's actually used.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So I'm going to really quickly go through 3 questions here. The first is someone asking a question about how the child tax credit interacts with SNAP. And after sifting through some policy documentation for a few seconds, our chatbot's going to give an answer. But what you'll also see is that we spent quite a bit of screen real estate on getting references to the underlying documentation sources so that someone can click in and see an exact quote that the AI is drawing on to produce that answer. So that's not AI generated, that's pulled from the underlying documentation. And the reason that's so important is because we want to empower the navigators that are using this tool to be able to assess whether or not they should be confident in the answer they're getting from this tool. So here's an example of why that matters. Here's the same question, but actually about earned income tax credit. There's an AI-generated answer there, but more importantly, before we took this screenshot, we actually deleted any references to EITC out of the underlying documentation. So the chatbot here is just winging it. And you can tell that really easily because when you look at the source it's citing, that's not EITC, that's CTC. So a user seeing this can quickly see, I'm not sure I should actually be using the LLM in this particular situation. Let me fall back on asking a colleague or some other source here. And we also want to provide them an opportunity to flag that, not just for us as the development team. We're an Agile team. We love getting this kind of feedback because it's an opportunity for us to iterate on the chatbot. But actually, even more valuable, this chatbot is drawing on documentation written by humans, and humans are the primary audience for it. If the documentation is missing something like a reference to EITC and how that interacts with SNAP, that's actually an opportunity to go improve the underlying documentation so that it's better not just for people who are using the chatbot and for the chatbot itself, but for other users of the documentation, whether they care about using this particular tool at all. So hopefully it starts to kick off a virtuous cycle of when the chatbot can't answer something using the documentation, the team is alerted, and folks can then go improve the underlying documentation and make that better too. All right, so far we've been looking at answers generated from a documentation source set that followed an FAQ format. So here's a common question about policy that navigators often have. Here's an answer for it. We can also start to digest and make more accessible very large, formal, structured policy. So Lynn mentioned earlier bookshelves being turned into PDFs. This is a great example of that. There's about 130 PDFs in this data set of various lengths. They actually are pretty well structured, decent plain language throughout, and we can take those, digest them into the chatbot, and then when users have questions about them, we can generate an answer based on this documentation, but we can also make it very easy to go in and see the specific subsection, see the direct quote from the documentation that answers the question, and then even do deep links in so that someone can go in, view the underlying PDF, and be able to see the context above and below, perhaps.
All right, to wrap it up for today, we are developing our evaluation approach with each new iteration of the tool. This is just a screenshot of our human evaluation template that we're using now, which I will just lay as a teaser for what's next for us, which is that we are very excited to actually try this out with a community-based organization and navigation partner. And so to do that, we will set up the bot for multiple programs in a single geographic area. And while we're going, setting up advisory boards of clients, navigators, and subject matter experts to help us improve the tool as we go, as well as those feedback methods Kevin mentioned. Luckily, this is a Bill and Melinda Gates funded project, so we are able to share most everything we do. There's a link there, and also in the Airtable that will be provided later. So thank you.